Test, test. 1, 2, 3. Toujours muté la salle. Voilà.
Ah, c'est bon, tu m'entends?
Là, c'est bon. Ouais.
Ah, super. Tu me
Merci.
vois aussi?
Oui, oui.
Ok, super, merci beaucoup.
Merci.
I'm downloading.
Yes. That's important.
Very big. They come from there. Right now, I'm looking over there. And then we over. They share their own side.
Yeah.
Okay, otherwise, if I do it, it looks simple. So, Hello, hello. 1, 2, 1, 2. Call Michael and tell him to turn on the IC4 via wireless. Okay, good.
And please, if you can just.
Okay, no, but I can. The time difference between the recording and the YouTube channel, because it goes directly to the YouTube channel right now. This is do you have the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yes, you have a message for it.
Hello, test, test. Can you hear us? Can you please speak in the microphone? Just a test, please.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much.
Of course.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And welcome to this intergroup meeting. Sorry for the delay. We had some room confusion, me and the Vice President, Mr. Everding. But now we're here, and good morning to everybody. Today's meeting is on the European Biotech Act, Innovation, New Approach Methodologies, also known as NAMs, and animal welfare. And it takes place at a pivotal moment in the EU policy debate on biotechnology, where questions of innovations and regulatory coherence are increasingly converging. Against this background, today's session will focus on the European Biotech Act and different key dimensions, the Commission's approach to innovation and its view on new approach methodologies, the NAMs, the parliamentary considerations in the SANT report and the ENVI opinion, and the scientific and ethical case for placing NAMs at the center of EU biotechnology policy. So we will have this debate with some interesting speakers, and time for us to reflect upon these questions at the right time as we are writing the reports in the European Parliament as we speak. Before I start, I would like to briefly highlight a few relevant developments in the broader animal welfare and research policy landscape. So, number one, there is a continued EU momentum of non-animal methods. The increasing recognition of new approach methodologies, the NAMs, across EU research and regulatory frameworks reflect a growing shift towards reducing reliance on animal use in science, while improving the predictive quality of scientific models. Number two, regulatory discussions on biotechnology governance. The ongoing preparation of the European Biotech Act has opened an important space for discussion on how regulatory frameworks can better integrate innovation pathways while maintaining ethical safeguards and public trust. And number three, strengthening the science policy interface. Across several EU initiatives, including the EU roadmap to phase out the use of animals in safety assessment and the European Research Area Action on NAMs, there's a clear trend towards strengthening the role of scientific evidence, including development and uptake of NAMs in regulatory decision-making processes. So this is the background on which we will be having the discussion today. A couple of announcements. We have a demonstration on animal transports taking place the 24th of June in Brussels. It's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the Eurogroup for Animals member organizations, so a lot of different animal welfare organizations, will hold a demonstration at Place Luxembourg in Brussels, calling for a strong and ambitious revision of the EU animal transport regulation. And of course, you're very welcome in this demonstration. I think it would be appreciated if MEPs would participate. And the transport file is, of course, something that we've discussed in this forum several times. So we hope for and want to push for progress in this file. There is another event, Andreas, that I should inform about. The event is called Towards a Transition, the Reality of Animal Testing and the Path to Animal-Free Innovation in the Pharmaceutical Sector. It's taking place the 4th of June in the European Parliament. The event aims to promote a discussion on how the EU is advancing and how we can transition to non-animal methods in a strategic, responsible, and collaborative way, looking at priority existing or upcoming initiatives like the action plan on NAMs and the EU roadmap to phase out animal testing. Actually, this roadmap will be published probably the same week as this event takes place, the 4th of June. And the event is hosted by MEP Tilly Metz and will count on, and it's a roundtable with DG SANT, EMA, DG GROW, DG RTD, which I don't know what is actually, but also FPR and experts on NAM development. And you all were very welcome, and I assume that Tilly will also be sending out emails on this topic. Great. So the 4th of June, you have do you know, it doesn't say what time actually. I don't know if anyone knows. At noon, 12:30 to 2:30, the 4th of June, non-animal methods event or roundtable, and then demonstration the 24th of June on outside the Parliament, Place Luxembourg at 2 o'clock on animal transports, 24th of June. All right, so let's kick off the meeting, and we, as you know, we were always live streaming the meetings, so people are following us online, and we have no interpretation today, but we will record the session and make it available on the Intergroup's website. So we have 3 speakers, and the first one is the Commission, the European Commission's perspective on the European Biotech Act, Innovation and New Approach Methodologies, NAMs. We will be hearing from Giulia Leonetti, Policy Officer at DG Research and Innovation. She's joining us online, and she works on EU research and innovation policy with a focus on biotechnology governance. And the integration of emerging methodologies into EU regulatory systems. So in her presentation, she will outline the Commission's perspective on the European Biotech Act, with particular attention to innovation pathways on the role of new approach methodologies, NAMs. So dear Ms. Leonetti, the floor is yours for 10 minutes. So if you can join us online, you're very welcome. Do we have her online?
Apparently there's
Yeah, there's been issues. I think they're trying to make it work. We might have to start.
Okay. Right, okay. Look, then we'll start with Anja, because you're here physically. Good to see you, Anja. So we'll start with you, the Parliament's perspective. You are Anja Hazekamp, well-known figure in the animal welfare environment, and also shadow rapporteur of in the SANT committee and in the ENVI committee, which will provide an opinion to the proposal, the Biotech Act. And as the left's shadow rapporteur, Anja Hazekamp is closely involved in the work on this file. And maybe, Anja, you could give us some insights in the SANT committee's draft report, as well as the ENVI considerations. So please, Anja, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I still am a little bit ordering my notes here, but let me start with some general comments. The latest animal testing statistics published by the European Commission shown that around 9.1 million animals in the European Union suffered and died in experiments in 2023. And this number doesn't even take into consideration the number of animals that are not used in experiments but are kept in labs anyway, and also doesn't include the breeding stock for instance, genetically modified animals. This whole file, the whole Biotech Act, is a very large and big file, and a very complex and multidimensional file. And animal testing and new approach methodologies, or NAMs, are only a small fragment of this legislation. I want to emphasize that as well. But nevertheless, they of course still deserve our full attention and investment, and we must seize the opportunity to provided by this Biotech Act to invest in progressive and effective animal testing-free science. And the Commission proposal has already some positive points, and we probably will hear more about that later. New approach methodologies are recognized in this file, and they are mentioned, and they are even mentioned as having the potential to be more accurate than, well, they call it standard methods, but methods using animals. And the Commission attempts to define non-animal methods of new approach methodologies. It is essential to have a common and clear definition here as well. And place the Commission report places also emphasis on regulatory sandboxes, and this is an essential development also for new approach methodologies. And for me, my intentions as a shadow rapporteur in both the SANT committee and the ENVI committee as well will definitely include to promote and strengthen human health outcomes, to raise the ethical concerns for animal welfare, and emphasize the need to reduce the number of animals used in testing, but also to support the development and the validation and standardization of these new approach methodologies. And I think I hear sometimes that we should more focus or pay more attention to lower the safety standards or fast track the procedure. I think especially, well, I'm not really a fan of fast tracking safety measures because I think every method used, whether it's using animals or not, should be safe anyway. But I think especially when you look at the validation process, there's a lot of time we can win. The validation sometimes takes almost a decade, and I think we should definitely focus on speeding up the validation process, either by giving more funding to ECVAM or the Joint Research Center or other mechanisms to speed up this validation process. But we also focus on, for instance, more focus on the shift to animal-free science. And that needs to be done without, of course, compromising health or safety standards. I can say something about the timetable as well, if people are interested in that. Well, the presentation of the proposal by the Commission will be on the 19th of March, 2026. And the presentation of the draft report by SANT, we have a slot on 29th of June. So we still have a little bit of time there. The deadline for tabling amendments in the SANT committee will be on the 7th of July. And the deadline for the delivery of opinions on the 16th of September. So it will take a few months before that. Then we will, of course, will have a lot of shadow meetings and technical meetings. And finally, the plenary vote is foreseen for December 2026 or even later. So the next months ahead, we will be working on this document a lot. And I'm looking forward for input from all of you. So if you have proposals for amendments or suggestions, please let us know and we will work on that. We will take them into consideration. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Anja. And once again, the deadline for amendments, when was that?
7th of July. 7th of July.
7th of July. So we have a little bit of time to... a little bit.
You know, time flies. So start thinking about that.
Time flies, and you're absolutely right. And who, if I just may ask, who is which group is the rapporteur on this report, if you remember?
I think the SANT committee has the lead here. I'm not sure, because we have also involvement of ITRE, we have involvement of ENVI. I will find out and I will let you know later.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all right. And which group?
SND.
S&D, right? Yeah. Good. And that's in SANT, and then ENVI has the opinion, but SANT is the lead committee on this. Yeah. Alongside each other, right? Okay. Good. So we have, if members are present in any of those committees, that's 3 main committees. So we might have good members of the animal welfare intergroup present in some of these committees, so that would be relevant for us. Okay, thank you very much, Anja. I'm not sure. Yeah, now we succeeded in having the European Commission joining us online. So we are pleased to see you, Mrs. Leonetti, and I introduced you before, but you were not with us, so you didn't hear what I said. But basically, we would like to hear from you, because we know that you work on this file, you work on EU research and innovation policy with a focus on biotechnology governance, and maybe you could tell us, that would be interested to hear your thoughts and ideas for the European Biotech Act. Maybe you can, with a special focus, and I can also see that in the headline of your presentation, on the advancement of new approach methodologies, but also perhaps, Mrs. Leonetti, a few words on the idea of the Biotech Act. What is it in overall terms? What is the purpose of the act, and how do these new approach methodologies come into the discussion and come into this act? The floor is yours for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Thanks for having me. So indeed, I work at the DG RTD, which is the DG that works on research and innovation, and NAMS, of course, is one of our most important files, as there's a great potential for replacing animal testing or refining animal testing. The Biotech Act 1, which was published in December 2025, is includes NAMS, and I will explain in a minute. I first wanted to say that even though today I don't have much time, so we'll focus on the European Biotech Act, and then I will refer. Sorry, could you go back? And then I will refer to the ERA action on NAMS. But there is much more. There is the roadmap as well. However, today I don't really have much time, so I will today start indeed with the European Biotech Act. Thank you very much. So as I said, it's been published on the 16th of December 2025, with the goal of boosting innovation of the health biotechnology sector and accelerate the time to market of biotechnology products. And this European Biotech Act focuses on health biotech because it represents more than 80% of the biotech sector. But there's also some provisions for also food and feed biotech. Next slide, please. I just wanted to refer to the policy context of this act, because it doesn't come as a standalone, but it's part of an overarching life science strategy, which was published by the European Commission in July, and that takes upon the recommendations and the conclusions of the Draghi and Leto report. So last year was an intense year. Is not only the life science strategy in the Biotech Act, but there's been also the bioeconomy strategy, startup scale-up strategy, and the Innovation Act that complement the efforts that the European Commission is doing to regain competitiveness of the sector and keep Euro competitive, not only in biotechnology, but in life sciences in general. Next slide, please. So the Biotech Act, the structure of the Biotech Act is composed of both regulatory and non-regulatory measures. So the box on the left is about the proposed amendments to different regulations that aim at streamlining the laws and facilitate the time to market of biotechnology products. Whereas the box on the right, the industrial enablers, aims at providing tools and funding support to SMEs, to startups, or to the smaller actors as well, in order to bring products to market. So for the purpose of this presentation and to focus on NAMS, I will today focus on the high impact strategic projects. Next slide, please. So the strategic projects that are being introduced in the Biotech Act are meant to be recognized as those projects that contribute to the Union biotechnology objectives, which means those projects that strengthen the industrial capacity of the Union and the value chains and scale up critical research and technology infrastructure. The Act specifically mentioned the promotion and integration of NAMS in biological research. And that is the key and where I wanted to put the stress of my presentation, because this means that, that projects that, on NAMS that range from discovery and preclinical development, but also regulatory and quality testing, can be recognized as strategic projects and therefore will benefit from a range of access to funding and so on. So if we move to the next slide, I can explain to you a little bit more about the strategic projects. So the recognition of these projects is done at the member states level, and as I said, is based on some EU level criteria. Therefore, there should be an increased industrial capacity, spanning across the value chains, and strengthen or create critical infrastructures. And here I also want to specify that we do not only refer to physical infrastructures, but also, for example, digital platforms or testbed environments. And this is also interesting for the development of NAMS because projects that use AI combined with advanced experimentation can also be recognized as strategic projects. A subset of those can be also recognized at the European level in case the projects possess a systemic and catalytic potential for the European biotech ecosystem, which means that the projects that have cross-border relevance or that have higher scale or higher scope that are interesting for the whole union can indeed be recognized at the European level. In general, the strategic projects can benefit from accelerated permitting procedures, from reduced administrative burden, and improved legal certainty in case of litigation. And then, of course, facilitated access to funding. So this is also quite critical because there are in place other measures for access to funding, like, for example, risk-tolerant capital with the European Biotechnology Investment Pilot, which has also been introduced in the Act, and these strategic projects can benefit from those funding. In addition to that, there's a support network called the European Health Biotech Support Network, which will help with reducing administrative burden for these projects, but also will identify networking chances or increase access to funding. So identify those funding streams that those projects can benefit from. So with this slide, I finish shortly, very shortly, the reference of NAMs in the Biotech Act and how indeed the projects can benefit from this measure. And as a last part of my presentation, if you could go to the next slides, is the reference to the ERA action on NAMs. Next slide, please. So the ERA is the European Research Area, which aims at creating a single market for research and innovation. This is an initiative that DG RTD, so DG Research and Innovation, is overseeing, organizing. And specifically, the action on NAMs, which is very recent, is quite relevant also for the sector, because with this action, we aim at coordinating the efforts of member states and private and public stakeholders that develop NAMs, so for the advancement of NAMs. In order to make this action a success, we had to involve all the ecosystem that is interested in NAMs. So not only the Commission and the ministries on one side, but also regulatory agencies and public researcher, industry as well, and also a number of stakeholder organizations. The action has a holistic approach, meaning that we welcome the input of experts that are involved in all the stages of biomedical research, so from basic discovery to implementation, validation, and regulatory testing of NAMs. Next slide, please. So the action is quite recent. It was kicked off in December last year and is set to last until the end of 2028. As I mentioned, we have so far involved more than 200 experts from the public and the private sector, and we have received the confirmed interest of 18 member states and 5 associated countries, which are part of the General Assembly and contribute to steering the action. The structure of the action is organized in 4 working groups. And as I say, they cover the whole chain of biomedical research. So there is not only a focus on the development of NAM and a common European infrastructure, but also effort to validate and to have regulatory acceptance of NAMs. And also the plan is to develop an European training program. So this is, again, just a glimpse of what we are doing, but this ERA action, together with the Biotech Act and together with the roadmap, are the main efforts that the Commission is doing to try and support the development and deployment of NAMs as a real alternative to the replacement of animal testing. So this was my last slide. Thank you for the attention, and again, sorry for the delay.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Leonetti. Very useful indeed, and that gives a good bridge to the final presentation, because now we will hear from Laurence Walder, Animals in Science Program Officer at the Eurogroup for Animals. So, Laurence, it would be interesting to hear from you from the NGO perspective. And now we heard from the European Commission, they have these initiatives on NAMs in the Biotech Act that they are promoting in different ways. The NAMs projects can get access to funding, fast permitting, more secure legal status in case of litigation, for example, and you have these different initiatives going on. And you hear from Anja, who is Shadow Rapporteur on the file in both SANT and ENVI, that we can table amendments, of course, and we have a deadline in the beginning of July. And so my question to you, and you have a presentation that you will tell us about, but I would also like to ask you, what do you think about this? Are you satisfied with the European Commission's proposal here? If we as MEPs want to promote NAMs even more, should we adopt this proposal that has been put on the table by the European Commission? Or do you think we should amend it? Could we increase the ambition level, or how do you look at it? Thank you. You have the floor.
Yes, well, yeah, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak today about the Biotech Act and its importance in accelerating the transition to non-animal science while advancing innovation in human health. So nowadays, society has become increasingly dependent on the use of medicines, but also chemicals to improve human health, but also human well-being. And this requires research to discover new drugs, but also testing to assess the effectiveness and safety of these substances. But today, most of this research and testing is still carried on animals. But well, as we know, animal experimentation is causing a lot of harm. Harm to animals, harm to people, harm to the environment, and well, harm to the society as a whole. And when I speak about harm, I am first referring to the 8 million animals that are still used every year in the EU in experiments. A recent footage has revealed once again the significant suffering and distress experienced by animals in harmful procedures, and even when those are compliant with EU legislation. And public reactions to the footage were striking. Many EU citizens do not support the continued use of animals in research and testing. And actually, a lot of them are not even aware that these practices are still happening in the EU. The ECI, Safe Cruelty-Free Cosmetics, is another striking example of the huge support, or huge public support in favor of animal testing. But we should also acknowledge the harm to laboratory staff, many of whom suffer from what they witness and what they are required to do to other sentient beings as part of their daily work. And we should also not forget the harm beyond the laboratory, meaning the harm to patients who are still waiting for effective solutions to their diseases, the harm to all the EU citizens who are not adequately protected from harmful chemicals, and the continued damage to the environment as dangerous substances are released into it on a daily basis. And now, because of all these reasons, we need innovative solutions capable of addressing today's health challenges while moving away from reliance on animals. Now, and this brings me to biotechnology. So biotechnology is the application of science and technology to living organisms and their components, meaning cells, tissues, and molecules. And biotechnology is emerging as a powerful driver of transformation in modern society. Strong biotech ecosystems can attract significant investment. They can enable the development of new industries and stimulate job creation. But importantly, biotechnology can help address some of the most critical challenges that we are facing today. And this is where non-animal methods come in. So non-animal methods, or NAMs. So NAMs include a wide range of innovative biotechnologies, such as, for example, 3D human cell-based models, also known as organoids, or organ-on-a-chip systems. And NAMs have, they can meet two objectives at the same time. So first, they can help replace animal testing, an objective that is in line with EU commitments and EU initiatives, as already showed by the Commission earlier, but also in line with EU-wide support, not only from EU citizens, but also more and more from academia, industry, and EU agencies. And second, NAMs can help accelerate innovation while improving the protection of human health. And this can be done because NAMs can generate more accurate insights into human biology, disease mechanisms, and toxicology, often at more manageable costs and within shorter timelines. And NAMs are already transforming the health sector, notably in areas such as disease modeling, drug discovery and development, and in regenerative and personalized medicine. Now, let me give you a concrete example. A biotech company, so-called in silico medicine, recently developed a full AI-discovered and AI-generated drug for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And this process took around 18 months and cost $2.6 million. Now, in comparison, the traditional process, which in general relies heavily on animal testing, takes between 4 to 6 years and can cost up to $2.6 billion. Now, the current situation is that despite sustained efforts to support research and innovation in biotechnology, the EU is facing a significant innovation gap. And notably, the EU starts lagging behind other global regions when it comes to translating scientific excellence into market-ready innovations. And this gap is particularly visible in health biotechnology, where scientific progress is moving quickly, but where regulatory and policy frameworks often struggle to keep pace. And this is exactly why NAMs should be a central element in the Biotech Act. It can not only help close the current innovation gap and strengthen the EU's competitiveness, but it can also, and importantly, ensure that research priorities are better aligned with public health needs and societal expectations. Now, the way in which NAMs are defined will be critically important. This will influence how ethical and innovative science contributes to improving human health, also to better protect the environment, while defining how the Commission delivers on its commitment to replacing animal use. And a harmonized and precise definition will also provide more clarity and consistency, whether it's in research or in regulation, and it will ensure alignment with existing EU policies and communications. And so if the definition is broadened too far under the remit of the 3 Rs, this could significantly impede the shift towards non-animal innovation that is more human relevant. It could significantly undermine commitments made to EU citizens, and it could significantly hamper meaningful change for animals. So basically nothing or little will change. And this is why it's so important that the definition of NAMs, as it is now mentioned in the Commission proposal, remains as it is. And so, the Commission proposal for the Biotech Act is an important step towards advancing health research and innovation without the use of animals. And so what is now needed is clear, practical and sustained support to create an enabling environment that will accelerate the replacement of animal testing, animal experiments with innovative non-animal approaches. And so first, sustained and targeted investment will be key. Dedicated funding for NAMs is critical to move promising technologies from the lab into real-world application. And second, the EU must also strengthen its research infrastructure, and notably in the field of NAMs. And this will enable fuller use of non-animal methods and facilitate their scaling up. And more support should also be given to the establishment of regulatory sandboxes and other testing environments. This will help to optimize innovative models and build confidence in their use, but it will also help to ensure that they meet regulatory expectations, as well as end user needs. Now, third, non-animal science must be embedded as a core requirement into education and training programs. Now, this is really crucial to help develop a skilled workforce that will be ready for a modern biotechnology ecosystem. And finally, collaboration is essential. Closer cooperation between researchers, innovators, regulators, and industry is the best way to ensure that scientific breakthroughs become practical, trusted, and widely accepted solutions. Now, a new era of science is about to begin, and the choices that we make today will shape the world for generations to come. And transitioning from tradition to innovation it's nothing new. It's what humans have always been doing. And so innovating in human health by moving away from reliance on animals towards human relevant non-animal science can be seen as just one more advance. And so the Biotech Act offers a unique opportunity to strengthen the EU's competitiveness and innovation in next generation biotechnology. but it also offers a unique opportunity to lead the transition towards a health system that is more ethical, more effective, and better aligned with the expectations and needs of EU citizens. But to fully seize this opportunity, effective implementation and uptake of NEMS must be a core priority. So I hope that this will also answer your question about can we do more in the Commission's proposal? And I think, yes, the NEMS really should become a central, or at least an important element of the proposal. And we noticed that the proposal is mentions NEMS, which is very much welcome, and it's a really big step forwards, but it relies also a lot only on AI, and AI can be very helpful in advancing innovation without use of animals, but not alone. So we would like to see more mention also of other non-animal approaches in the proposal. And so, yeah, with this in mind, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Laurence, Walder. Interesting. So your advice to Anja and others that are dealing with this proposal is to stick to the definition, as far as I could hear, of the NAMs, not broaden it too much. But there's still work to be done when it comes to, for example, looking at other perspectives than only AI when we talk about NAMs. That would be some of the messages among the other messages you have. Okay, very interesting. I would open the floor. We have 15 minutes, I think, if you have any comments or questions. Manuela, please. You have asked for the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for all the presentations. And I would have some questions also regarding your presentation. I mean, you rightly pointed out that NAMs could be more ethical, more effective, but I think in the end also cheaper, also especially for industry. And you were rightly saying that we have an innovation gap in the EU and that we have to move on and become also leading. And I'm completely here with you regarding NAMs in Europe, but how far is it developed in other countries? In your presentation, we saw US, China. Are there in a way going in this direction? I know that China, for example, is not, especially cosmetics, needs still to be tested on animals, where we in Europe are much far further away than luckily moving ahead here. But how far is NAMs in other countries? And then my question would be regarding NAMs, where can they already replace and where are they already more accurate than what we have at the moment? And where in the legislative proposals can we already replace animal testing? I had the one on detergents where the Commission came up that new detergents and spray formats need to be tested on animals. And I, as rapporteur, deleted that one, but also because industry was backing me here and saying, but we have alternative methods. We don't need animal testing because industry often also doesn't want animal testing because it's very costly. Apart from that, it's also a bad situation for the animals. And that is why, could you also name already legislations where we could also replace that already? Many questions, but thank you for answering.
Okay, thank you, Manuela. I don't know if there are other remarks, comments. Otherwise, I would have one, but
There's one from Antigone.
yes.
It's not a member.
You are not a member of the parliament, but if you introduce yourself, then we can take a question.
Yes, Antigone Fremido from Humane Vote for Animals. First of all, thank you to all the speakers and thank you to the Eurogroup for organizing this meeting. Just to complement on the upcoming events which are linked to NAMS, we are also organizing an event on 10th of June, which is about funding for non-animal science. And this is kindly hosted by the MEPs Sebastiana Verding and Christina Guarda. Now, we very much appreciate including NAMS in the Biotech Act. This was very much needed and it's also aligned with the EU commitments. And my question is to the Commission. So given the ambition of the Biotech Act to strengthen the EU competitiveness and also create a system which is innovation driven, how does the Commission envision the creation also of a dedicated moonshot program to further accelerate the development, validation, and the regulatory uptake of NAMs? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christian?
Thank you, Niels. I'll make just a brief comment that I personally didn't think that we can actually introduce some of those elements preparing now to adopt the Biotech Act. I myself, I'm substitute member of the SANT committee, so I'll follow it as much as I can. But in reality, since I follow also the AI in my other committee, I think the rapid development of AI is actually helping a lot to reduce or even completely substitute the animal testing. And this is the case in many areas with this digital twin, especially for organs at this stage, because I mean, living organisms are a bit complex and still we can't fully replace that. And in number of areas, it's already can be the animal testing can be completely substituted, like cosmetics, for example. It's already being done also on the early stages, drugs discovery, on chemical testing. So I think if we're a bit more focused, the problem with China, for example, maybe 2 years to some extent, is that it seems to me this debate, the ethical debate, is not at that stage that we are. Otherwise, they have also these opportunities. But if we focus a bit more on that, if we encourage the gradual replacement and we encourage AI technologies that can help us actually in replacing animal testing, we can achieve a lot literally in the next several years. So from that point of view, I think in the first, in the Biotech Act, but probably we're waiting now also for the second part of the Biotech Act, where, in my opinion, we can say more, especially about new technologies, AI, and there also to keep in mind that we can encourage, maybe the Commission has a bit more can say about that, but to encourage development of such systems, and we can make big progress very soon. So that was my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. That's good to have an optimistic note from you, and very interesting also to see if you guys agree with Christian's assessment. It would be a good direction to go in. Final small question from me, but maybe that's to Anja in the work that you do. Do you have any overview when you look at the other groups? Where will they go? Will it be possible to get your ideas that you outlined in the beginning of the meeting through, you think? Do you have any impression of where the different groups stand? Is there an environment for promoting some of these ideas? So that would be my question. And then if you spend a couple of minutes each, I think we'll keep the time schedule. So please, Laurence, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, thank you for the questions. So first, regarding the status of other countries in terms of NAM development, I know that there has been a study regarding the global market in the development of in vitro methods, so including organoids and organelle chips, where clearly the US is leading in this market, and for now the EU has as a second position, but the study acknowledged that China is investing more and more also in the development of NAMs, and so if the EU does not invest more, China can take the second position, I would say, in the in vitro market. So yes, for that. And then where can NAMs replace animals, in which legislation? Well, we are all aware of the Commission's roadmap to phase out animal testing in safety assessment. And if not mistaken, this roadmap covers 15 different legislations. So there are already 15 legislation where we could replace animal testing. So yeah, we're really looking forward to the Commission's proposal or the Commission's roadmap to already replace animal testing in the chemical sector. The GRC or ECVAM has also published a couple of years ago several reviews on non-animal methods in different biomedical areas. And I really encourage you to have a look at those reviews because they can really be of help to see where animals can be replaced in biomedical research.
Thank you. The European Commission, if you wanna take the floor, please.
Yes, of course. So the question was about, I think, the creation of mutual programs to accelerate the uptake of NAMs. Well, so there's a series of projects that partially target that. They're funded by Horizon Europe, but as I shown also in the slides, the ERA action will also be looking at that because this is a European effort to really take all the lessons learned and what is being done and try to develop something that could be a common training, common education path. Of course, the success of this initiative will depend on the efforts of the experts that will be joining, that have already joined the working groups. But as someone mentioned in the chat, the 19th of May, so earlier this week, we had a meeting with the working groups, with the steering committees. We have seen a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of willingness to really develop something that is common, to avoid duplication of work, to identify what has been done, what needs to be done, what works and what not, and so the hopes are high here.
Thank you very much. And perhaps Anja, if you want to come in the end here.
Yes, thank you, Niels. Yes, of course, we are still from the Parliament side in the beginning of the process here. So I do not know what the position on this specific point is from all the other shadow rapporteurs. But I think when I look to the rapporteurs for the SANT committee, it's Vytenis Andriukaitis from the S&D group. For ENVI, it's Nicolas Gonzalez Casares, also from the S&D group. And for the ITRE file, it's Wouter Beke from the EPP. I think all three of them might be interested in working on this topic as well. I don't see them as, well, how to say, enemies of the new approach methodologies. Absolutely not. So I think in general, we might be able to have a good report on this topic, at least. I don't know what will happen with the rest of the report, but when it comes to new approach methodologies, I think we will not find a lot of resistance there.
Thank you, Anja. And I think you're right from the names that you mentioned. I know Vytenis and Nicolas, and I think we should be able to speak with them, and I'd also be happy to contribute myself if you need that. So thank you very much. I think we have a road forward. We have a deadline for amendments coming up in the not so long away future. So we have to hurry up and help Anja and others work on this. And I think we've gotten some perspectives for doing just that. I will say that the next intergroup meeting will take place the 18th of June. It will be on the CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy. It comes at a very important time where we in the Parliament are going to take some decisions on the CAP soon. So I urge you to be active and join this discussion, and also get good colleagues to come, and we will of course announce the program, which will hopefully be relevant. Manuela.
On any other business, I would like to mention, because before you were telling about events, that on the 3rd of June, we have at 8 o'clock in the morning a breakfast on cats and dogs and the implementation of the regulation that we decided here in the Parliament. So you're all very welcome. Please register because the places are limited.
Okay, that's interesting. And you've sent out or will send out a mail on, you already did? And
I did, but I will again. Send a reminder.
It's always good to resend.
Yeah.
We don't get enough mails here, but that's a relevant mail, so do send it. All right, thank you very much, and have a great day and safe travels back home.